Welcome back. Welcome back. You ain't Don McKay in here, of course. The Don McKay Show on fire-tv.com, radioonfire.com, however you get your podcast. Thank you for joining me. So, the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, is in the midst of showing their true colors. Last week, they have shown their hand a bit, They seem poised to expand the power of the president. They appear to be likely to side with Donald Trump. And side with him on what? What are we talking about? We're talking about siding with Trump with regards to presidential immunity. Presidential immunity. We're in a very sad state. We're in a sad state when the Supreme Court, who is supposed to be doing their job, and what is their job? What is their job supposed to be? Handling the cases that are in front of them. That's what it's supposed to be doing. But as I said, last week, they appeared very skeptical of a ruling by Federal Appeals Court that rejected former President Trump's claims that he had absolute immunity. Of course, he doesn't have absolute immunity, but that's what he's claiming. And 3 of the judges were appointed by him. 3 of the judges appointed by him. And needless to say, they are doing their former president very proud. Doing him very proud. So we're going to talk about that. More than 2 hour, close to 3 hour oral argument. And let me say this, cameras should be allowed in the courtroom of the Supreme Court. But for right now, for whatever reason, we only get these oral arguments. We only get these audio-only arguments. Now, some of the court's conservative justices expressed concern about the prospect that if former presidents do not have immunity, federal criminal laws could be used to target political opponents. Not if they don't break the law. We haven't had this issue in the past because presidents knew that they could be held accountable for criminal acts, so they didn't do it. Richard Nixon, but he stepped down because he knew that there was a possibility that he was going to be held accountable, and then his vice president then became president and pardoned him, right? Presidents have always known that there was the possibility, if they broke the law, that they would be held accountable. So this lie that Donald Trump and his supporters, minions, appointees on the Supreme Court, et cetera, are going with is very disturbing. It is very disturbing. The justices left open the prospect that Trump's trial in Washington, D.C., this is the one for the January 6th insurrection attempt, could still go forward because the charges against him rest on his private rather than his official conduct. However, the timing of the court's eventual opinion and the resulting trial remains unclear. I don't think this trial is going to happen. Is that good? Is that bad? I'm just saying this. Donald Trump did things that if Barack Obama had done, if Joe Biden had done, if Bill Clinton had done, oh my God, Republicans would be losing their minds. America would be losing their mind if Barack Obama had an insurrection of folks storming the U.S. Capitol. Everybody on his Rolodex would be brung up on charges. Anybody he called that day would be brung up on charges. Now, would he have been found guilty? I don't know. Let's leave that out there. But he would have had his day in court. And for whatever reason, Donald Trump, I don't know what kind of spell he puts on people, but for whatever reason, Donald Trump has seemingly reasonable-minded individuals, reasonable-minded adults, just acting inexplainable. Inexplainable. There's no accountability. Now, bare minimum, he should have a trial, right? Very minimal. This part should be, indisputable. You know that he did something wrong, right? And we talk about elections. There have been close elections. This election, the 2020 election, was not even close. But for the sake of argument, there have been close elections in the past. Nobody responded the way Trump responded. Nobody has. Only him. Only him. Now, the timing of the Supreme Court's eventual opinion. So they made some statements last week, Thursday, and they're like, well, we're going to get back to you on that. And so what they're doing is essentially playing this slow down game. Trump loves that. The delay game. And they're hoping that this former president gets reelected. And then all this stuff goes away. But the bigger issue here is giving the president immunity, giving the president more powers, whether that president is Donald Trump or somebody else. And maybe if Trump gets back in office, there is nobody else after him for the foreseeable future. But let's just say, giving the president these additional powers, the explicit presidential immunity, you give someone that, Democrat or Republican, it's not a good thing. What's the difference between a dictator and a president? Accountability and limits to power. What's the difference between the king and the president? Accountability. No one can hold a king accountable. The king has the final say. If you give the president immunity, the branches of the government are no longer equal. Right? Do you remember when you were in school and you talked about the three equal branches of government and you have one that can hold the others accountable? Congress people can be held accountable. They break the law. There's going to be consequences and repercussions. But if you have somebody in the hierarchy, a branch of government that is not held accountable, these branches of government are no longer equal. Somebody sits above the others. So if you have the executive branch, the president, who is immune, he is not equal to the others. He is above the others, and that is a problem. That is a problem. But that is where we are. We're on the verge of that. If that happens, then what? Then what? The timing, as I said, of the court's eventual opinion, whenever they give us their thoughts on this immunity thing and the resulting trial, leave open the possibility that the court's decision could push Trump's trial for the DC crimes that he's accused of past the November election. Trump was indicted in August 2023 on 4 counts arising from special counsel Jack Smith's investigation into the January 6, 2021 attacks. The attacks on the U.S. Capitol. Now, let me say this. It took way too long for that to get started. Part of the problem with Democrats is that they're too squeamish, too scared, too tied to decorum and what they think is the way that they're supposed to react to things. What will people think? How will they view us? Blah, 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 blah. Trump did the attacks January 6, 2021. Did it take 2 years for them to investigate? I mean, so, they're dragging their feet, you're appointing special counsel, blah, 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 because we don't want to give the appearance. Republicans don't care what the Democrats think, right? Let's go back to Mitch McConnell when President Obama was in office. Supreme Court seat becomes open. Oh, Mitch McConnell and his minions decide, oh no, you're not getting you're not getting the opportunity to do the job of appointing someone to the Supreme Court. We say that it should be you only got 3 years. It's too close to the election, so they don't let them, right? They hold it up. Then when Trump gets in office, Supreme Court seat comes open, they push it through immediately, quickly, the fastest you've ever seen. And Democrats do nothing, huh? No, because they're worried about decorum, right? The Republicans don't care, and they'll switch the rules. Right, I respect it. It's gangster. Democrats are not gangster. Democrats act like a bunch of suckers, right? Every time, suckers. And that is why they're even in the position that they're in. And it's maddening. It's frustrating. So that's why you have 2 years. 2.5 years before they even bring the charges. All right. So now you're up against the clock. Now, they had brought the charges, let's say in 2022. Republicans would have still found a way to spin it because, they just outsmart the Democrats at every turn. Because here's why we have a bunch of old folks, the Democrats, representing the Democrats for the most part. Bunch of old timers that's stuck on how things used to be and decorum and all this. If you had younger Democrats in charge, a lot of this stuff would be different. But your Democrat, policies, you got to wait your turn, chill, maybe you'll get up there, and that is a big part of the problem. A lot of these old folks, I love old people, right? My parents are old people. Right? My grandparents were old people. I love old people. But the time comes when the next generation has to take charge. And the Democrats who are in charge are too damn old. And therefore, they are getting pushed around, knocked down. I mean, Joe Biden is the leader of the Democratic Party. Nice guy, but he's too old. Right? He's a shell of his former self. He's a shell of a shell of a shell of his former self. I was looking back at some interviews of Biden in the 90s. It looks like a totally different person. Sometimes you can look back at the people, 30 years ago, and you can still kind of, Joe Biden, he's been through a lot of loss. That takes years off your life. And, he's been around and, whatever. I get it. But he should not be the person. But whatever. He is, and that's why we're in the situation that we're in. One of many reasons. When Biden was elected, and anybody that's listened to me for any length of time, Biden was not my first choice, okay? I didn't even want Obama to pick Biden as the vice president. I never liked Joe Biden. You can go back to the 90s. I never liked Joe Biden. But it is what it is. He pushed through. They got him through, whatever it is, right? When Joe Biden was elected in 2020, if there were younger people really calling the shots instead of the old timers, You would have said Biden's one term, and we would have set up an exit strategy, the next guy or gal. Now, this may be an unpopular thing to say, but I myself would not have advised Joe Biden or any Democrats. I would not have picked Kamala Harris as the VP. I like Kamala Harris. I really do. I think she would have been more valuable in Congress. More valuable. I think that selecting Kamala Harris as the VP handicapped Joe Biden and forced him to stay in or attempt to stay in for 2 terms. He got pigeonholed in because he was desperate and said, I'm going to elect, I'm going to select a minority, a female vice president, nominee. And he was kind of forced to do that. And then he's like, I don't know who to pick. Right. But they weren't thinking long term. And while I love Kamala Harris, I love what she represents, I would not have selected her as the vice president because it puts the Democratic ticket in a weird space. Now, we have to understand the reality of this country. Kamala would have been more valuable in Congress. So now she's in this weird space, right? Because they know that she's not strong enough, even though she can do the job. They know that she doesn't have the national support to be the candidate to take over for Biden. She doesn't. Now, we could say, for whatever the reasons are, America, I think it's more steeped in the candidate. She has strengths and she has weaknesses, and she also has things working against her. Yes, the Biden people don't want to see her come up. She's got her own people, and there's fighting back, backstage, as I like to say. There's fighting behind the scenes, right? And so, because the people that are on Biden's team, they don't want Biden to go anywhere because they got power behind the scenes, his staff, his team. We get to ride around in the jet, the plane. We get to do this. We get to do that. We calling the shots, right? And then the vice president, she's got her team, right? And so they don't paint her in the best light. And like I said, she has strengths and she has weaknesses. More valuable in Congress, my opinion. But that's what it is. So you have her as the VP. So now they're scared. They say, we got to prop the old man up because they know that, A, they haven't put Kamala in a position to take over. She can do the job. That's not the issue. She can do the job. But the question is, can she convince the majority of the country that she can do the job? That's what it is. I know she can do the job. She's a very capable politician. She's a very capable attorney. But her communication, and Democrats on a whole, communication, it's not that great, right? Message, you have to understand message. You have to be able to convey a message that the average American that doesn't pay attention to politics all the time can understand. And when you get some of these attorneys, because a lot of these politicians are attorneys, not all of them, but a lot of them, and they talk over your head. You ever talked to an attorney before? They think they're the smartest person in the room. I know a lot of attorneys. I'm just saying. They think that they're the smartest people in the room. And they may be. But it is a better trait to be able to communicate with the average citizen what you're thinking, what's your goals, what's your plans. You got to be relatable. If you come off as unlikable or arrogant, you know what I mean? And then you're going to try to get people to vote for you. It's difficult. And so if you get painted a certain way, if you allow your opponent to define you, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, many Democrats have allowed themselves to be defined by Republicans. Oh, it's tricky. Now, if you are able to define your opponent, that's half the battle right there. And Republicans have defined these Democrats. Trump is a master of messaging, and he's been able to define his Republican opponents. That's how he got them out of there. This is in 2016, 2020, he's been able to get them out of there because he's been able to define them to the public. And he's been able to do that with the Democrats as well. Oh, it's a bad situation. It's a bad situation. So as I said, Trump indicted in August 2023 on 4 counts arising from that investigation of the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. I watched it take place from my office, and it was disgraceful. It was disgraceful. And we saw it. We saw it on TV. You saw it on the internet. You saw it happening in real time. And it appears that Donald Trump and his minions are going to get away with all of that because of the Supreme Court, the conservative justices on the Supreme Court. It is crazy. Now, folks tell you it doesn't matter if you vote. Folks will say it doesn't matter. My vote doesn't matter. It's super important. Super important. We're going to be talking to several candidates in the run-up to the primary election. So we're going to be having candidates on. We're going to have a candidate on tomorrow that's running for mayor of Baltimore City. And Pastor Shannon Wright's going to be on here tomorrow. We have other candidates scheduled for the coming days and weeks. And so they're going to be, talking about their platform, whatever they want to do in their respective races. But the election, especially your local elections, are very important to your quality of life, to the laws. I will say this election, and you hear this often, but this is true. This election is the most important election that has happened in this lifetime, in our lifetime. Now we got some older folks, right? Voting for some people is symbolic, but this is a real thing. This is a real thing. And hopefully folks will understand and recognize that. Hopefully folks will understand that because it is a serious thing. I don't care who you vote for. I want you to vote for the best candidate, right? You tell me what race you're looking at, and I'll tell you who the best candidate is. But it also depends on what you want. What do you, as a citizen, what do you want? What do you need from your city, from your state, from your federal government? And that is where you put your vote. Now, it does not stop after you vote. It continues, right? So let's look at this like a girlfriend and boyfriend relationship, right? Right? You meet somebody, now y'all go together, right? You go together. You don't just say, oh, we go together, you don't do anything, right? You hold them accountable. Now we go together. We do things different. We do stuff together. We talk and we're meeting each other's families. We are cultivating this relationship. And as a citizen, as a voter, when you elect somebody, you got a relationship with them. You've got to cultivate that relationship. You got to hold them accountable, right? Not just you get the vote and you just think everything's going to be fine. Not we go together, but you don't work on the relationship. This is a relationship with the candidate. Now, if you allow this candidate for 4 years, 2 years, 6 years, whatever it is, if you allow them to not do the things that they said they were going to do, to not pay attention to you and the promises that they made, and you let them do that, and then you reelect them again, you continue to go with them, you continue to go steady with them, that's a problem, right? You wouldn't do it. After a while, if you go with this person and they not living up to your needs or your wants, or your desires, or they got you looking crazy in these streets, you're going to break up with them. And that's the same thing that you have to do with the politician. You have to force them to do what they said they were going to do, or you get rid of them and you get somebody else. But so many people don't want to participate in the process for whatever reason, because Republicans have brainwashed people into thinking that it's not important. Let me tell you why. Republicans try to brainwash you to thinking that voting is not important because they're in the minority. Most people are Democrats or have those type of thoughts. But because the 10 is big, there's a lot of different types. And they've gotten complacent and cocky, and they've gotten to the point where they just take things for granted. That's the Democrats' problem. Now, Republicans have a different motivation because it's less of them. So they gerrymander, they cut the districts up, they slant things in their favor, and they get away with it because Democrats are scared. They're weak in a lot of ways. Not always, just most. And then you have Republicans who are crafty, slicker, and they're all playing a game. And then you have independents in the middle. We're going this side, we're going that side. That's my side, they're winning. That's my side, they're winning. You know, I mean, it's kind of back and forth. And that's what you have as a political process. Some people say, I got to deal with office politics. I got to deal with family politics. I ain't got time to deal with politics. You know what I mean? But you really do. You really do. Here in Baltimore, the roads are atrocious. They are horrible. They are terrible. Right? And nobody holds the politicians accountable for it. They got money for everything else. But I'm talking about simple stuff. Fix the damn roads. No, that's too hard. That's too hard something to do. And they'll say, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, but nobody forces them to do it. They set an agenda. We need to set our own agenda. Here are the things that we need done. Who's going to do them? And you got 4 years to do them, or show us some progress, or we're getting the next person. Now, older people don't like that strategy. Older people want to give people time. Let's give baby a little bit more time. 16. You only got 16 years. You need 16 more years, right? Yeah, I don't know. But there's a lot of things. And whether we're talking about local Baltimore or you're talking about the nation, there are a lot of concerns. And as I said, I'm going to have some candidates on here talking their talk and trying to get your vote. But I really want folks to participate. Apartment 217 on YouTube says, no matter what you want, the issues on the ballot are financial, not to you. You are giving your majority support, shaking my head, more taxes, fees, and tips. What do you mean? Tell me more. Tell me more, Apartment 217. Apartment 217 continues. This is on YouTube. What has voting accomplished in your lifetime? A foreign agenda, not American. Shaking my head. All right. So see, this is what I'm talking about. This is Apartment 217 is someone who from what I'm reading, has succumbed to propaganda. Right? Apartment 217 on YouTube says that you should not vote, doesn't get you anything. That's what he's saying. Stay home. It hasn't gotten you anything, right? It's a very interesting philosophy, but I don't buy it. Apartment 217 on YouTube also says it took your rights and gave them to new illegal immigrants. All right, so Apartment 217, clearly a conservative leaning person, we'll say that. What rights? I didn't lose any rights. Did you lose some rights? I don't know. I'm confused. But I love talking to folks about just life in general. And even if the folk is on here spitting propaganda talking points, right? What has an illegal immigrant taken from me? Nothing. This is the land of opportunity. And an illegal immigrant, we could talk about immigration another day. And I love to talk immigration. I do believe that we should secure the borders. I do believe that Democrats need to have an answer for what is happening at the border. I do believe that. Republicans, none of them have answers. You know why? Because it's about money. None of them have answers. Now, Donald Trump or any of the Republican cronies who have businesses, have farms, those guys that employ so-called illegal immigrants, you know what I mean? They're going to have an excuse for that, right? Oh, I know we employ them, but there's a loophole. We just jumped through the loophole. Y'all need to fix the loophole. Republicans don't want to fix anything with immigration. It's all about money. But we can talk about that at a later date. But I'm sure the Department 217, I don't know where he is with the propaganda points, but definitely. So Apartment 217 says that it's not the land of opportunity, that's theft. This land was stolen. Okay, man. So understand this manifest destiny, right? It took the land, right? Land was taken. The land of Texas was taken from Mexico, right? I don't know. People don't know their history or the history of this land here. But we can go on and on about that. And so, as I said, Supreme Court disappointing, not surprising, just disappointing. The Supreme Court of the United States. Very, very disappointing. Another thing, disappointing, just tune in. We're going to shift gears for a moment. In Tennessee, the governor has signed a bill that allows teachers to carry guns. Oh, yeah, that's right. Another Republican thing here. This is not a good idea. This is not a good idea. They are naturally reacting to mass shootings, and we in this country have had a bunch of them. But is this the correct answer? Is this the answer? Of course, Tennessee had that horrible shooting at a school. And now the governor has signed bills to allow armed teachers. You remember the deadly Nashville shooting that occurred last year. This is in the wake of that. Governor Bill Lee says that teachers and staff will be allowed in Tennessee will be allowed to carry concealed handguns on public school grounds under legislation that was signed on Friday. Lee, of course, a Republican, had announced his support for the proposal just the day before, while flanked by top Republican legislative leaders who had helped shepherd the bill through the GOP-dominant General Assembly. Oh, Tennessee, what are you doing? What are you doing? Arming teachers. Now, gun control advocates and families began to swarm the Capitol to show their opposition, but it looks like this is a wrap. During the final vote, protesters chanted, "Blood on your hands," and many members of the public who opposed the bill were, outraged. Yeah, that's a crazy thing. That is a crazy thing there. Now, of course, you're gonna have more folks. These are crazy times that we live in, because this statute, which becomes effective immediately, parents and other teachers will be banned from knowing who is armed at school. So again, Republicans with these minority thoughts, right? The majority ruled by the minority. Most people don't want this to happen. Teachers, come on. Do you think that this is the answer? This legislation is the biggest expansion of gun access in the state since that deadly shooting I was talking about at a private elementary school in Nashville. where the shooter indiscriminately opened fire and killed 3 children and 3 adults before being killed by the police. So now we're going to have, effective immediately, armed teachers in Tennessee. Armed teachers in Tennessee. So Lee initially asked lawmakers to keep guns away from people deemed as a danger to themselves or others in response to the shooting. The Republican supermajority ignored that request. So here we go. It is unclear if any school districts will take advantage if the bill becomes law. I don't know. It is. I don't know. To me, the best action, the safest action, is for active duty law enforcement to carry weapons on a campus, not the teachers. Not the teachers. We're going to continue to follow this story. It is not something that most folks agree with, or maybe you do. Maybe I'm crazy. But if you think that teachers should be allowed to carry guns on school premises, concealed weapons, please let me know on social media at the Diamond K Show, djdiamondk@gmail.com. If you think that I'm crazy and that more states should be allowing teachers to carry guns on school grounds, concealed weapons, let me know. Last thing before we get out of here. We talked about this story on a couple of shows here at On Fire TV. This former athletic director at Pikesville High School has been arrested in connection with an AI-generated impersonation of the school's principal, right? Yes, we are here. Dazon Darian, 31 years old, faces multiple charges, including stalking, theft, disruption of school operations, and retaliation against witnesses, according to charging documents. So you may or may not remember this story. Police said that the charges are in connection to an investigation that started on January 17th of this year. Now, this investigation centered around a voice recording that was on social media. We had it on the website, linked to it. Now, this was alleged to have been the voice of the school's principal, Eric Eswert. And it turned out that is not. This audio clip, which was an alleged race-based commentary, he was talking crazy on, unloaded on the students, negativity, the teachers, negativity. It was all over social media. Folks were outraged about it. And that led to the temporary removal of this principal from the school. There were also many hate-filled messages on social media, numerous calls to the school. It was crazy out there. Now, police said last week that detectives had conclusive evidence that resulted from a forensic analysis by the FBI that the recording was not authentic, that artificial intelligence was used on this audio clip. Police said that analysis indicated that the recording contained traces of AI-generated content. Detectives then sought an additional analysis by the University of California, Berkeley, which arrived at the same findings as the FBI analysis did. So police said that investigators believe that Darian made the recording to retaliate against the principal, who at the time was pursuing an investigation into the potential mishandling of school funds. So this is supposed to be Oh yeah, you investigate me, I'm gonna get you. And he does this according to the FBI, this AI recording of what was supposed to be the principal speaking in a way that got him temporarily removed. And so that was crazy. That was crazy. He thought he was going to get away with it, and now look at him. Pikesville High School investigation, and this dude has been arrested and everything. So I don't know. This audio clip was circulating, and folks were outraged about this. The charging documents state that the principal believed Darian was responsible for the clip because he believed that Darian was tech savvy and familiar with AI, and a grievance was fueled by Darian's contract not being renewed due to a work performance issue that included terminating a coach without approval and allegedly paying teachers under the table for helping him with his job. So that is the subject of an internal audit. It is an investigation into other teachers that could have been involved. That continues. Baltimore County leaders addressed the scandal in a news conference last Thursday. So police said that the audio clip was originally sent to a friend of 3 teachers. One of the educators admitted to the police she sent the clip to a news outlet and a student who she knew would spread the clip. So all these folks being investigated, they are out here looking crazy in these streets. These are supposed to be so-called educated people acting like children. So following a court appearance on Thursday afternoon, Darian was released on $5,000 unsecured bond. So, I mean, he ain't gonna work there no more. We know that. The police chief could not say whether Darian was attempting to flee, but can say that Darian had a firearm. So you have that. Now, he was attempting to board a flight. Let me say that. So the Maryland Transportation Authority took Darian into custody at BWI Airport. But like I said, they don't know if he was trying to flee or not. But he was attempting to board a flight that was heading to Houston. So they don't want to say if he was trying to flee, but he was going to Houston. Houston's popping. Houston is popping. I'll say that. Now, from the very beginning, according to Baltimore County, we expressed our concern about the disturbing audio that shook our community here in Baltimore County. As you can imagine, this has been a very difficult time for Pikesville, the Pikesville high school community, and all of that, the principal said. Of course, he is back. This is a lot of controversy at a school, all right? People have been expelled for less, right? Expelled for less. Let me know your thoughts, of course, in the comment section, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, Threads at the Diamond K Show. Oh, Threads. I need to post on Threads. Have not been posted on Threads at all. Have not been posted on Threads. I like Threads. I just forget about it. I forget to post it. Post to it. We'll be back here tomorrow, of course, 6 p.m. We're going to be talking tomorrow about the future of the Inner Harbor. And we're going to be joined by Baltimore City mayoral candidate for the Republican Party, Pastor Shannon Wright, is going to join us tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that conversation. We're going to talk about the future of the Inner Harbor and a few other things, as well as be joined by Pastor Shannon Wright tomorrow, 6 p.m. on fire-tv.com. Of course, on YouTube, DJ Diamond K, on X at the Diamond K Show, on Facebook, Diamond K, or on Fire TV Live. So I'm going to I got to think about some of these things, right? This teacher gun thing is really bothering me. It's bothering me because we see the confusion at the Pikesville school, right? Baltimore County School. That school is kids can steal the guns, take the guns from the teachers. You've seen some of these videos. These kids are wild. The kids are stronger than the teachers. So can you imagine if one of these scary teachers has a gun in school, and when is the teacher pulling the gun out? When a fight happens, the teacher gonna pull the gun out and shoot in the air like this the Wild Wild West? You know, it's just there's so many unanswered questions. So I have so many concerns about arming teachers in Tennessee. I don't want you arming no teachers here in Baltimore. Good God, no. That's the last thing we need, are armed teachers here in Baltimore.